Well, I'd like to welcome you all here tonight to the Church of Perpetual Life. Some of you came as not really knowing what you were going to be seeing tonight, because I know the Peace Education program is often here on a Thursday, but they'll be coming along this Saturday. You can join Larry and the group this Saturday at 7 p.m., but I'm glad to have you. Glad to have you all. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Church of Perpetual Life. This is a place where we are constantly having lectures, and we're learning lessons on age reversal, on cryonics, on artificial intelligence, and that sort of thing. And the wonderful thing that happened recently was that the mayor of Hollywood has proclaimed today, which is January 12th, 2017, which is the 50th anniversary of James Bedford's cryosuspension, and this has been proclaimed Dr. James Bedford Day, and I'll read the proclamation for you in just a moment. Now, just to give you an idea of what we do, typically we have meetings here once a month, but this is a special month with the James Bedford Day, which was suggested by Ben Best, and I'm glad we're doing it. It's something that we're going to carry on into the future, Ben. But we have typically the fourth Thursday or the fourth Saturday presentation. Now this month, Bill Falloon will be doing a great presentation on human age reversal. And he has sent me this email. Scientists at the world's most prestigious universities are aggressively seeking to reverse biological aging in elderly people. Devere, good to see you. Based on the creative use of existing therapies, human age reversal may translate into clinical reality in 2017. So these advances further validate the Creator's plan for mankind to develop technologies that will facilitate the transformation of life into a physical environment of perpetual enjoyment. Enjoy Bill Falloon coming on the 26th of this month at 7 p.m., and he'll be speaking here to discuss some new latest updates and studies on demonstrating age reversal in the animal model and older people. We're all looking forward to that. Now in February we have Jose Cordero coming. Jose is world-renowned for the work he's doing. He'll be here in February, and Charlie Cam will be here. Charlie Cam was at the RadFest. He's very well known in the circles of life extension, and we're very proud to have Charlie Cam coming in March. Let me share with you the James Bedford Day proclamation made by Mayor Josh Levy. And it reads, in recognition of Dr. James Bedford Day, January 12th, 2017, whereas people of many faiths, nationalities, and creeds value human life, health, and longevity, and whereas the members of the Church of Perpetual Life and longevity enthusiasts around the world view cryonic suspension as a method of extended emergency medicine, and whereas the first cryosuspension occurred on January 12, 1967 of Dr. James Bedford, and this January 12, 2017 marks the 50th anniversary of this historic event. And whereas in honor of his courage and forward thinking, the Church of Perpetual Life honors Dr. Bedford and the thousands of other patients and future patients of cryonics as they embark on a journey in the quest of cures to extend lifespans. Now, therefore, Josh Levy, Mayor of the City of Hollywood, Florida, and the Hollywood City Commission hereby proclaim January 12, 2017 as Dr. James Bedford Day in Hollywood, signed by the Mayor. So we're very proud to have this proclamation, and we're sharing this with everyone. We've been asked to send this to a museum in Texas, so we're going to send a copy out there for them to have on display. It's my understanding that this may be the first time that a mayor or a public official has recognized cryonics, so we're all very excited about that. Tonight, before we get Ben Best up here to give his wonderful presentation, we do have a short film of a young man from Pennsylvania who was frozen alive overnight. And this was a clip from a local news station. Doug, are we ready for the clip? Okay, so we're going to play this for you, which has never been seen before here at Perpetual Life. Go ahead, Doug. Why don't we start that from the beginning? We tested it 4 times earlier and it worked perfectly. So, I'd like to welcome everyone who's online live streaming here as well. Okay. We want to welcome everyone who's viewing us from all around the world. We live stream our events, and we're very happy to have everyone joining us. Okay, well, they're working on that. Oh, sounds like you almost have it, Doug. Try that again. You know, we have a couple of people here who worked with Robert Nelson, and who was one of the principal people that froze Dr. James Bedford. And Greg Strom, would you like to stand? Hey, Greg is one of the initial cryo people from the area. I'm glad to have you, Greg. Greg's also on the board, one of our board members. So we're happy to have you here. I know Devere, Ben's going to say a little bit about you, and glad that you're here as well. You know, this gives me the opportunity to tell you that we don't have full food tonight. We don't have a full meal, but we do have some super great snacks. So after the event tonight, we encourage you to stick around and we can have a chat downstairs over some snacks and drinks. Also, we have a library. The Perpetual Life Library used to be on the tables, and we have that in the bookshelf in the back corner of the outer sanctuary. Please enjoy checking out a book, take it away, read it, and you can bring it back and check out another one. There's some really great books in there, books you can't find anywhere else. And we're very proud of that. Ben actually got us started on that library when we first started here. He gave us a whole bunch of great books, and they've been enjoyed by a lot of people. You know, Charlie Cam, who's coming here in March, was at the RADFest. The RADFest stands for the Revolution Against Aging and Death, and that's a fantastic conference that will occur again this August out in San Diego. This past August we were there. There were nearly 1,000 people who are interested in the unlimited lifespans, and there were some great speakers. It's coming up again, and if you'd like to sign up for the RADFest, it's available to do. You can go to well, send me an email or let me know and I'll get you a link. But if you just simply RAAD, if you just Google RADFest, RAAD Fest, you can go there, sign up, and get a better rate now than you will if it's in July. But it's something you don't want to miss, Devere. You really need to get to this one. It's going to be a fantastic event. People, there are going to be some wonderful speakers there, and just the people that you rub elbows with and have meals with and talk to in the corridors. It's phenomenal. It's great stuff. I'm talking to Devere. Some of you may not know, Devere has a new cryonics facility in Miami, Osiris, and this is the first of its kind in the state of Florida. So it's the other cryonic organizations. One, the Cryonics Institute, is found in Michigan. Another, Alcor, is found in Arizona. You ready? Okay, very good. What we're going to do is come back to this film we're going to have a short intermission. So let me introduce our speaker for the evening. And Ben Best was president and CEO of the Cryonics Institute, one of the world's largest cryonics organizations, for 9 years between 2003 and 2012. Ben is a well-known activist in cryonics and life extension advocacy. He holds undergraduate degrees in pharmacy from the University of the British Columbia and physics and computing science and finance, a BBA, from Simon Fraser University in British Columbia, Canada. Ben Best is also certified as a professional registered parliamentarian by the National Association of Parliamentarians. He currently is on the Board of Trustees here at the Church of Perpetual Life, and he serves as the Secretary-Treasurer for our church and is currently spending a good deal of time traveling all over the world, attending conferences on age reversal and similar types of medical meetings. So let's give a warm welcome to our presenter tonight, Mr. Ben Best. Come on up, Ben.
Hello. working?
Yeah, let's get you checked out. And this thing is mic, Amy?
He's got to unhit the mute button on his device.
Okay, try it now.
Hello?
Good.
All right, good. Okay. So let's, without further delay, we'll just, this is what we're celebrating. It's James Bedford. He was the first man preserved, and he's been in liquid nitrogen for 50 years, which is, some people say, you know, the liquid that cryonics patients are held in electricity or something, and there could always be a power failure, but that's not the case. They're in liquid nitrogen, and electricity is not an issue, and it's quite extraordinary that somebody's been able to be maintained for 50 years. And so he wrote to Robert Edinger, saying he was dying of liver cancer, which had spread to his lungs, and he was. It was January 12th that he died. He was 73 years old, and he's currently being stored at the cryonics organization, Alcor. And he didn't go straight into liquid nitrogen. He was in dry ice for 6 days, which was happens to many people. Robert Edinger's mother was in dry ice for 10 years before she got into liquid nitrogen. So he was a PhD, a psychology professor, and he wrote 7 books on vocational training, and he traveled a lot, African safari, Amazon, Alaska, so forth. This is the man who was responsible for his cryopreservation. Robert Nelson, he was actually a TV repairman before becoming, or at the same time as becoming president of the Cryonics Society of California. This was all by the seat of your pants. He wrote a book, We Froze the First Man, just shortly after freezing Bedford, and this is in our library here, and he was actually literally the title is correct because there was a woman 1 year earlier who was embalmed for 18 hours and then refrigerated and then put in liquid nitrogen temporarily, apparently there was she did have a cryonics intention, or at least her family did, but then they gave up on the idea and took her out of liquid nitrogen. So Bedford had some doubts, and he told Edinger about it, and Edinger persuaded him to go ahead with it, even though even if Bedford didn't think he was worthwhile to be preserved. It would be a benefit to society, and I think it was a benefit to society. All of us in the cryonics community, or most of us in the cryonics community, greatly appreciate what he did. So he didn't actually, though most of us do it because we want to save our lives, but he did it partly to help others. So he was in a nursing home when he was in a deteriorating condition, and luckily the physician was there. And in a cryonics case, the physician has to pronounce death, and so when Bedford died, he got a quick pronouncement of death, so once he's pronounced dead, then the cryonics procedures can begin. And his personal doctor who pronounced death, then dumped ice on him and administered artificial respiration because it's actually not. Anyway, it's chest compressions. The whole idea is to get the circulation going, to keep the cells and the tissues alive during the cooling process. And the cooler you get, the slower the metabolism becomes, and the better the preservation. So after 2 hours of cooling compression, Dr. Abel, his personal physician, summarized these 2 other people who were involved, including Robert Nelson. And so it was a small team. Robert Nelson, Dr. Dante Brunel was a research physician and biophysicist, and Abel was the physician, and there's Bedford died in a nursing home, and then there was Robert Prehota, who was a chemist and low metabolism expert. So there's Robert Nelson posing with Dr. Bedford, but actually Robert Nelson didn't participate that greatly. It was Dr. Brunel who did the work. But even Dr. Brunel's, his apparatus wasn't ready. They weren't ready to, Bedford died sooner than they thought he was going to do. So they just, the best they were able to do was inject a 15% DMSO, which is an antifreeze solution into near the carotid artery about 10 or 100 times. Hugh Hickson, who's at Alcor currently, told me that if a funeral director had been present, he could have easily located the carotid arteries, but and injected it right into the bloodstream. But apparently they weren't that skilled, and so they just ended up trying to get close to the carotids. Anyway, Life magazine had a story, a 6-page story which was going to describe the whole process and would have reached millions and millions of people. I have a copy of the story here, and then the Apollo astronauts got killed in a cabin fire at Cape Kennedy, and so even though some of the copies of the magazine had been distributed, it was replaced by this the story of the Cape Kennedy. So only a few people subscribing to Life got that issue of the magazine. So Bedford didn't trust Robert Nelson very much, and neither did his family. So it was only kept by Nelson for 6 days, and on dry ice, and then all the other Cryonics Society of California patients that Nelson had, they all got thawed in by 1979. Nelson was not able to maintain them. He said he had financial problems. He couldn't keep paying for the liquid nitrogen, and actually most of the clients that he accepted, he did on a charity basis, expecting that other people, paying customers, would come along later, but that didn't happen, and so it was really a disaster for these patients, and for cryonics in general. But Bedford survived all that because he didn't trust Nelson, and he had his family take care of him. So the family did a pretty good job. They used private facilities. TransTime was a cryonics organization at that time, and so they transferred Bedford there in '76. That was 9 years after Bedford was preserved, but it was pretty expensive at TransTime, so they took him back, and then later transferred him to the Alcor Life Extension Foundation, where he is being held today in Arizona. So, and when his body was examined in 1991, it indicated that there had been no warming above cryogenic temperatures for the whole 24 years, and so he's been in liquid nitrogen pretty well the whole time. So one more thing, I should once again mention that Greg Strom here, stand up again, knew Nelson, was in the Cryonics Society of California when it was operational, and as a matter of fact, Greg is the person who who invited Bill Falloon to come here and live in Fort Lauderdale and start Bill Falloon's organization, and eventually even starting this church. So the guy who started the church, you can thank this guy here for bringing bringing Bill Falloon to Fort Lauderdale. Okay, you can sit down now, Greg. Unless you want to say anything. You can talk to Greg about the early days in cryonics. Anyway, where do we stand? This is statistics as of September 2016. In terms of people who are in liquid nitrogen, Alcor in Arizona had a total of 148, And Cryonics Institute was not, in Michigan is not far behind, 10 less patients. In Russia, they've got an organization that's got 51 people in liquid nitrogen, or not, they're not all in Russia, they got 51 patients, some of them are actually still in dry ice. And then Oregon Cryonics, they have 4 patients in liquid nitrogen, and TransTime has 3. And there's actually a few others around the world someplace, but this is mainly it. So I'm just going to talk about now cryonics around the world quickly. Just give a quick overview. In Russia, it was the CryoRus is the organization. It was founded in 2005, located near Moscow. As of September, they had 3 full-time staff, 2 part-time, and 51 patients, as I mentioned. 26 of those are neuros or brains, and 25 are whole bodies. And the cost is $12,000 for a neuro, $36,000 for a whole body. And they had 20 pets. So these are the 2 principals, is Danil Medvedev and his wife Valeria Pride are the 2 principals, and they're standing there. But between the 2 of them is Max Moore, who is the president of Alcor. And that's a picture I took at the facility when I visited 2 years ago. And they had only had 1 cryonics capsule there at the time. Now they've got 2. And to the left there, you can see where they're storing somebody or some people in dry ice still. Argentina, its main driving force there is Rudy Goya, who's he's got a small cryonics group there, and he's cooperating with this. Being Spanish speaking, he's cooperating with the Spanish and the Mexican, and this Spanish group is the speaker in February will be the guy I think mainly in charge of the Spanish group. So there I am with Rudy in Argentina, actually. And anyway, India, this is the guy, usually one activist in some of these remote countries. Anyway, he's a successful businessman, and he's assembled a perfusion pump, a bit of equipment, and he's trying to get a funeral director, John Pinto, to prepare and ship cryonics patients to the U.S. Pinto has 2 sons. They're the only certified embalmers in India, trained and certified in the U.S. and UK. And people aren't usually embalmed in India. They're usually cremated. It's pretty rare to be embalmed, actually. But anyway, Pinto's family he's got about 17 funeral homes all over India. And he's the main guy for embalming, and he wants to do cryonics as well. And he indicated to me when I visited there that he may take training at Cryonics UK and visit the Cryonics Institute. I think the training that Cryonics UK gives is probably the best training outside of the United States that anybody can get. So anyway, as I mentioned that he was only certified embalmers and all that. So anyway, there's Niraj, the guy who's driving all this. He's wanting to get cryonics going in India. And there's John Pinto. That's me. That's John Pinto's wife. So China, once again, we have a person driving it, and actually, this is Leguan Yan, who lives in Miami, who's been to many of the meetings here at the Church of Perpetual Life, and he's hoping to develop cryonics procedures for preparation treatment. And he has a Cryonics Asia office in Beijing and 2 full-time employees, another office in Beijing. But his name, Cryonics Asia, is a bit misleading because he only wants to offer cryonics in China. But unfortunately, the Chinese communist government demands that all Chinese nationals be cremated. There's no embalming allowed. If you die away from home in China, if you're in another city, you can't even be shipped back to your home without being cremated first. So he's got a lot to fight to overcome if he wants to get cryonics going in China. He's trying to really raise public opinion. He translated Edinger's Prospect of Immortality, and when I was there, he had me interviewed by a journalist from China's largest popular technology magazine. So since there are so many problems in China with all this cremation, mandatory cremation, he's planning to start by offering services in Hong Kong, which is a much smaller population, of course, and then maybe Taiwan if he gets more capital. And there's Lu Guan standing there. This is in Shanghai. That's his Shanghai office, Cryonics Asia. There's me. There's his 2 employees, and mainly what they're involved is marketing. As I say, he's distributed 2,000 copies of the translated copy of the Prospect of Immortality to libraries. And but actually, there's another organization in China that's actually wants to do cryonics, and it's not worried about the cremation issue, and they think it can get around it, and that's this Yin Feng Cord Blood Institute. Their actual business, their main business, where they get all their money is by freezing cord blood. But they're the largest facility in China storing cord blood, but they're investing $2 million to develop a cryonics facility in China. And they're paying a generous salary to this former Alcor employee, Aaron Drake, who just now he does just occasional contract work for Alcor. And they have very sophisticated cryonics equipment. I wasn't allowed to photograph it, but anyway, I could see it. They showed it to me. And the cryonics patients are going to be classified as research subjects. Lu Guan doesn't seem to think this strategy is going to work for more than a few cryonics patients, so he doesn't think it's a really very viable business plan.